back today with a brand new episode of the I'm Doing Great podcast. We are your hosts, Gina and Mike.
What's
Today
up?
is a day of not anger. What would you call what I'm feeling right now?
Well, as the kids say, Mike woke up and chose violence.
I did. I'm ready to go to war.
Yeah.
I got my SEALs hat. I got my Air Force hat. I want to drop bombs on people. You know what I'm saying? Before we do that, I just want to spend a couple moments and thank our sponsor, Fog City, for providing the coolest, most expensive, most durable, most timely timepieces that exist today. Fog City. Go follow them on Instagram at Fog City Vintage. If you're looking for Rolexes, APs, Pateks, any sort of fine metal, because they get steel, platinum, white gold, rose gold, gold, yellow gold, I guess that's what they call it. You're looking for a Rolex Submariner? Hit up Fog City. You're looking for a Patek Nautilus? Hit up Fog City. You're looking for an AP Offshore or a Royal Oak? Hit up Fog City at Fog City Vintage. Okay, go look them up.
Thank you, Fog City.
Thank you, Fog City. We love you. They love us. Let's move on.
Off we go.
Okay.
Onwards.
Okay,
So why don't we? Okay, so Mike has a lot of things to share today. He's actually got a really good story that he's going to kick off with. This might be the Mike show today.
No. This is going to... No, I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Do you want to kick off with it, or do you want to do Does Mike Know Anything first?
Let's do Does Mike Know Anything?
Okay.
Hold on. Welcome to another installment of Does Mike Know Anything? Okay, go ahead.
Great. So today's category is moons and planets. I almost said moons and suns.
Yeah.
It's not moons and suns.
We have one sun in our solar system.
It's moons and planets. So what
Correct.
I'm going to do, I'm going to explain this to you guys. And I think as we're releasing more episodes, you guys are starting to understand what this game is.
They'll catch on to us. This was submitted by my dad, by the way, and he's out there watching, and he's going to be supremely disappointed at
Hey, Dad.
I'll probably get all of these wrong.
Yeah, so hopefully after this episode, we don't get any more submissions like generals or ethnic food.
It's interesting because there are planets that don't have any moons. We have one, and the name of it is just Moon.
Right.
Which is interesting because a lot of them have like Greek and Roman names or Latin names. But yeah, it's going to be tough because Jupiter and Saturn, I think combined, have over like 160 moons.
See, I did not know that.
Some of them are too small to be seen, which I even question that.
Your dad strikes me as the type of guy who would know this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think space is
He also
gay.
strikes me as the type... Josh Lakash. Okay, this is the second time. Josh asked me to get the clip of when we mentioned him briefly. That was...
Oh, so he can compile it because he also put the clip of Elijah Schaffer mentioning him as well?
That tweet that he sent was one... I laugh about it sometimes when
I asked him if it was real.
When I'm just sitting around, space is fake / gay. Weed is fag plant.
I was like, what does that mean? Is this real? And he was like, it's real.
It's just
okay.
so Josh. So go watch his show, Wrong Opinion. He's great. Your dad also strikes me...
Watch our show more, though.
Yeah, well, ours first and Josh's second. Your dad also strikes me as the type of guy that you would call for directions, like if you're lost somewhere.
Yeah, he actually, he has in his car and always has had in his car Hagstrom maps of states and the continental U.S.
See?
He has these maps in his car.
Not surprised.
Really good with directions. He'll open it up to the specified grid. Yep, okay. I've also been having this discussion before we get into the show. I'm just derailing the whole episode. But the Cliff videos that I've showed you.
Yeah.
So since we're on the topic of space, I think the Big Bang is absolutely ridiculous based on a logic idea of own, because time is supposed to be infinite in both directions, right? There's an infinite past, there's an infinite future. The Big Bang doesn't say so. The Big Bang says everything, there is a past up until one, like the smallest point to have ever existed. The universe came from this small point. So that's the beginning, right? I see time as infinite in both directions. Also, how can something come from nothing? Laws of thermodynamics prove this.
That is the question.
Right. You can't have something come from nothing. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. That's another law. But this Cliff guy says yes. And if you believe in the Bible literally, you have to believe that God created the heavens and the earth.
Yes.
And then he points to the Big Bang and saying God created the Big Bang. something coming from nothing, but God is everlasting. And my dad is like, this is so stupid. I don't understand how he's peddling this. I was like, no. He has to. If you believe in the Bible, literally, you have to believe in a everlasting creator. So obviously the Big Bang would make sense. And my dad's like, the Big Bang doesn't make sense. Anybody can see that. Why is, and I'm like, I'm not saying it makes sense.
Right.
He's saying it makes sense because it justifies his worldview and it justifies, the existence of a God. Because my dad's very, very interested in intelligent design and the way human beings, and especially down to our DNA, our biomechanisms in our bodies are so intricate, and they work like, if you look at our blood, if you look at the things in our blood and how blood goes from one place to another, and just like the microbiology involved, it's all like mini cities and it's all like mini machines.
Wow.
Which points to this didn't happen randomly. It
Right.
didn't happen by chance. Someone had to have created it.
Yeah.
An intelligent mind had to create it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when I think about pregnancy and birth, I always say this. I do not understand how any woman can experience pregnancy and birth and not believe in God.
right.
You think that just happened? I mean, even down to how our breast milk functions.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Anyway,
So why do I keep saying suns? I haven't had enough coffee. Moons and planets.
I've had too much coffee. Okay, let's go. Let's get this
All right,
underway.
so
Let's
we've
play
got-
the song again. So that's enough. Okay.
Okay, we've got five questions.
You've
Well-
got 5 moons.
5 moons.
I've got to name the planet.
Phobos.
Phobos.
P-H-O-B-O-B-O-S.
Phobos. Can I have the planet of origin? I'm trying to trip you up. Phobos.
I was about to Google it.
Yeah. Uranus.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Damn it.
Mars.
Oh, Mars has 2 moons, I think.
Oh.
I know that.
Let's see. Mars, moons.
It's satellites.
3. It's got 3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Phobos, moon, and Deimos, or Deimos, D-E-I-M-O-S.
Yeah, he's probably screaming at the computer.
Sorry,
It's Mars,
Dad.
you idiot.
Sorry, Dad.
No, he would never say that. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, next
I
one.
want you to give me some of the big ones. Those I know.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Lysithea.
Lysithea.
L-Y-S-I-T-H-E-A.
Sounds pretty. Maybe I'll attribute it. Yeah, Saturn. Final answer.
Jupiter.
I was going to say that. Always trust your gut. I was going to say that.
0 for 2.
Damn it.
Number 3. This
Okay.
is my favorite one. Puck.
Pluto.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Uranus.
Damn it. I knew it. I thought it was.
Do you say Uranus? Is that the actual correct way to say
Yeah,
it?
Uranus. The
thought it was
funny way to say it is Uranus. Yeah. Go ahead. All the kids watching this show are loving you.
It's
I
so
love her.
funny.
She's funny.
She's not, though. Okay, number 4. I don't know how to say this one. Ganymede. G-A-N-Y-M-E-D-E. You
Yeah,
know, I can say the
Ganymede,
alphabet
yeah.
backwards. Did you know that?
Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah, I could do that. I've practiced it too, just in case I was ever drinking and driving.
You know
I could
what?
try and do it.
We used to do it in chorus class, in choir class. We
Really?
would warm up A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we would do C, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, O, K, J, I, H, E, F, E, D, C, B, A.
Wow.
So if I ever drive drunk, not that I drink, but if I did drive drunk and get pulled over, I can say it backwards.
If you can't drive drunk, you shouldn't drive in the first place.
Yeah. Well, if you can't drive drunk and say the alphabet backwards, you definitely shouldn't be driving drunk.
No. And I'm saying if you can't drive drunk, you probably shouldn't drive sober.
Oh,
Do you
I
see what
you're
I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
I quote that to Gavin. Gavin says that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Ga-
contribute.
Gavin.
Okay, Ganymede.
Number 5. So we're
No.
over-
No,
Oh,
I
I'm so
didn't
sorry.
name
Ganymede. Yeah.
Maybe that one's Pluto. I don't know. I feel like you're trying to like trip me up. Jupiter.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. 1 out of 4.
All right. Let's get 2.
Okay. Last one. Callisto.
God, I know this. My dad has said this one. Callisto.
C-A-L-L-I-S-T-O.
Yeah, I know how to spell it. I can't see it on my computer. What's on my computer is what's on the TV. Callisto. I should know this. I feel like Callisto even has rings. This is horrible. I want to be right so badly. And I know it's probably going to be Pluto. Maybe that one will be Pluto. Because Pluto has a bunch of moons, funny enough. Small planet, dwarf planet, but it still has a lot of moons. Callisto. I'm going to say Pluto.
Final answer?
Yeah, final answer. No,
Jupiter.
Saturn. Jupiter.
Jupiter. It's Jupiter. Okay. So
He's yelling. He's
1 out of
yelling.
5. Sorry,
He's
Dad.
screaming. He's screaming.
Well, hey, at least he listens to the show. Thank you very much.
You couldn't have named like Titan, Io, Europa. You couldn't have named any of those?
No.
Those are the interesting ones.
Oh.
Okay. Let's get into something personal before we get into your life, because I know the 10th episode.
Oh, are we doing my life today?
Yeah, that was going to
Oh.
be the thing.
Okay. I thought we were okay, sure. I thought we were going to shift to, do you know what? Let's do it.
Well, we're going to talk
always
about
ready.
a couple of different things before we get into your life.
Sure.
Because we're not going to spend too much time doing
Okay,
other
great.
things. So my wife has been dealing with this for a long time.
How long?
Couple months. I guess that's long.
A couple of years sounds long, but okay.
My
that's long
wife
enough.
worked for one of the biggest nonprofits in the country. They are a humane organization for the welfare of animals. So there are probably two big ones. I don't want to tell you which one, but you can guess. Last year, toward the end of last year, they basically told their employees, they said, regardless of whatever the federal government comes to as far as mandates, if they hold up in court or not, which we know to this day,
Right.
they have failed.
Yeah.
Supreme Court knocked
Wah, wah.
all those mandates down. They are still enforcing their mandates. So at the end of last year, probably around like September, October, they petitioned, or they asked the employees their questions: are you going to be vaccinated? This office is in New York.
How many employees?
Over 100.
Okay.
It's a very big organization. My wife works at home in Tennessee, in our home.
Did she used to work in the office?
Yes.
Okay.
But since we moved to Tennessee 2 years ago, she works.
Right.
She works at our house.
Remotely.
Everything's been approved that she is a remote worker. So she said, I'm not going to be vaccinated. So the company says, okay, well, when this time comes, I think there's a cutoff date, January, whatever. If you're not vaccinated, you are no longer allowed to work here, basically. So we are effectively pushing your resignation. We are forcing you to resign. So, and the reason why she did this is my wife is extraordinarily healthy, extraordinarily knowledgeable when it comes to these things. And there is virtually and literally zero data about how vaccines affect pregnant women, nursing women.
Well, particularly this vaccine.
This vaccine,
This
yes,
vaccine, yeah.
This vaccine, because this is what they're talking about, the COVID vaccines. So she said, I'm not getting it. There's no data I can point to and look at. I mean, you can look at different groups of people, but there's specifically no data on breastfeeding, nursing, pregnant women. Mm-hmm. Because of course they can't test pregnant women. Why would they? So
yeah, of course.
Ethical standards alone, I'm not doing this. So she doesn't do it. And another point that I wanted to bring up is it's just weird to me that these companies, that DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is so important nowadays. We have to promote DEI. We have to practice DEI, patting ourselves on the shoulder, diverse hires, equity hires, and now they are excluding someone. Basically, a working mother. So it's a group of people, women, breastfeeding mothers.
Yeah.
They are discriminating, like targetedly, against her, but they don't want to say anything on that because they think they're on the right side of history.
Right.
So it's just we're fighting this thing. She's fighting this thing legally, and you should just it's I can't go into details about like the emails between her lawyer and this other.
They didn't give her a severance package, right?
Yeah, no, they offered her 1 month. She's been there for 8 years.
8 years?
Yes, and she said even if I was fired, they would offer me a severance package based on, it's usually I think like 1 month for every year that you've worked there. So she would get like close to like 8 months pay for leaving.
That's a huge slap in the face.
She said it's a punishment.
Right.
Because she's like, no, a month? I've worked there 8 years. This is a punishment for not complying. It doesn't make any sense. And what's funny is this organization had an Omicron outbreak.
And they were all vaxxed?
Yeah, they were all vaxxed. Do you have to be vaxxed in order to work there? They were all getting Omicron.
See, this is why it just isn't like.
What I'm convinced of. Now, see, this may be legal. This is the thinking. This may be legal because it's a private company, so they're able to mandate their employees to do whatever they want. These are the guidelines. If you don't want to work here, fine. Right. So this is always, well, she doesn't have to work there,
Yeah.
She's been there 8 years. There are two big takeaways from this. Legally, Tennessee protects remote workers. If they work and live in Tennessee, I don't think they can be bound by any mandate outside of the state.
Really?
I don't think. You may have to look this up, but I'm not sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Secondly, if we're talking about misinformation, if we're talking about ethics, imagine telling someone that she can't work because she's not vaccinated, or they're scared because she may be transmissible to other people within the organization. She works in my home, in our home. She works by herself. She has absolutely no contact with anybody outside of email. Who is she a risk to? We all had it. We all had the Delta. So not only does she have natural immunity to maybe Delta and Omicron, but if she gets Omicron, it's not even an issue. If the vaccine was meant to prevent transmission between people, it has utterly failed.
Which
up until
they
this
originally said it was. So this is the thing that they keep gaslighting
They move
us
the
about.
goalpost.
They move the goalposts. Yeah, I mean, there's
every day. Every day.
Cernovich shared this really great compilation. It's like a 2-minute compilation, all these videos of people saying, if you take the vaccine, the virus, Rachel Maddow, the virus will stop here, and the virus stops here, and you won't be able to pass it on to anyone else. That's what they were saying for months. And then they moved it and said, oh, well, if you take the vaccine, then it'll stop you from going to the hospital and from having a severe case of COVID. But if you take the vaccine,
you got to stop talking, because this is misinformation and we're killing people.
You can still go to the hospital, but you won't die. It's that meme. It's so funny. Have you seen that meme I share? It's like, it goes through all of these moving the goalposts, and the last one is like, you die, but you go to heaven.
Right. It's so absolutely ridiculous. Like, imagine.
It's so ridiculous.
What I'm hoping for, if it goes to court, and I want to take it to court, I want to blast the thing. I want her to go on Tucker. I want her to go on Candace. I want her to go on any show that will have her, because the group of people who contribute to this organization are surprisingly like you and I. They don't know that, and it just makes me mad, because imagine a jury hearing this case. It may be legal, but is it just? Is there any common sense to that? If it's legal to mandate employees to do something in one state, but another state protects it. So if New York State protects her company, but if Tennessee protects her, who's right?
Right. Yeah.
Does it make any logical sense to fire someone who is working remotely based on them not injecting themselves?
Well, it's just
with something that there's no data for.
It really is proof that it's got nothing to do with health. It's got nothing to do with the virus. It's all about power.
It's a virtue signal.
It's a virtue signal is what it is. Yeah, because you hear these cases. You heard about the cases where kids or students are getting kicked out of a university. Remote online students are getting kicked out of online classes because they're not vaxxed.
Yeah.
In what universe does that make sense at all?
Just imagine this. Listen, I want everyone to put on their thinking caps and just listen to this. You have an organization based in New York where it requires all of its employees to be vaccinated currently, today. Okay? All of them are. Not only are they vaccinated, but an Omicron outbreak breaks loose, or an Omicron outbreak happens. A bunch of employees get sick, but they're all vaxxed. Okay? They're still working there. Weren't they dangers to each other?
Yeah.
Now you have one woman, a working mother, who breastfeeds, who takes care of her kid at the same time while she's working, who lives 950 miles away by herself, is fired because she poses no risk to anybody physically, but because she hasn't fallen in line.
Yeah. Yeah, hasn't fallen
You're
in
on
line.
a jury. What do you decide?
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. And it makes me so mad, because I know your wife, and she's...
But not only that, they fucking told other employees why she was leaving, which they're not allowed to do.
They did that?
Yes.
That's definitely illegal.
She has a case either way. If it's still legal to, for a company to do whatever it wants, sure. But they cannot legally disseminate your medical information publicly.
The worst part to me is that she's worked here for 8 years. When you work somewhere for 8 years, you develop more than just a...
Not political. The whole time, not even political.
Right.
Just making a choice for herself and saying, listen, I'm not going to do this. There's no data to back me doing something physically to myself up, so I'm probably going to pass it, but I work here by myself. I don't see what the issue is.
Yeah.
You don't fall in line.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
And your wife's not a political person.
No.
Yeah, she's not. She's really not. I mean, because you hear these cases and they get blown up, they get gaslit into seeming like anti-vax crazy Trumpers, maggots, anti-vax maggots.
No.
But Mike's wife is not a political person who's constantly talking about what's going on in culture. She's
my wife's based, but she's not political.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what she's like.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, knowing her, that's literally her.
Yeah.
It just makes me so mad as a mom, and especially knowing her and what a good mom she is, and the sacrifices that she makes to take care of your daughter. I mean, like, I don't the term mom goals, I don't throw that around lightly. First time I met you guys, and we went to I met your wife. First time I met your wife, we went to dinner.
Yeah.
And she brought all this homemade food and the breast milk in the little container and the little water for your daughter. And I'm just watching her. I was pregnant at the time, and I was like, I literally said to my husband on the way home in the car, I was like, I hope I can be half the mom that she is to their daughter, because it's just like, and it makes me so mad.
She is amazing when it comes to our daughter. She is the best. If you want a mom, she is what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, I'm not even getting sad. I'm not even, I thought, while I was talking about this, like, I would get emotional and cry. I want blood.
Yeah.
I want scorched earth. I am Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. That's what I want. Like, I'm so upset at this. And it just, she doesn't have to work there. Well, she was working there. She enjoyed her job, and she was pushed out for some fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, moms out there, if you don't like the language that I'm using, but this could be you. They don't discriminate only working moms who don't inject themselves with drugs that there's no data to at least, help guide them if they want to take it or not. Like, it's I'm not even saying experimental. At this point, with this group of people, there is no experiment.
Yeah.
It doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. I don't want to spend too much time.
It's an awful thing that's happening, and it needs to stop.
I can't even think clearly.
The sad thing is that this is happening all around the country to many, many, many different people, and a lot of them parents, and they're losing their. I mean, I even get on Twitter and I just see random people tweeting and say, "I lost my job today. I'm the main provider for my family." Et cetera,
this is what drives people to kill themselves. I'm sorry.
I mean, truly, that's why you've seen an uptick of suicide, of a huge uptick in mental illnesses like depression and anxiety over the last 2 years, because they have robbed you of 2 years of your life, and they've done it under the fake umbrella of, we care about your health, we're in this together. And then they keep moving the goalposts and saying that, the shot is gonna stop you from getting the vaccine, it's gonna keep you from spreading the vaccine.
Virus.
Yeah,
you're saying vaccine.
Stop you from getting the virus. It's going to stop you from spreading the virus, and then it's going to stop you from getting hospitalized. It's going to stop you from dying, and it's just it's nuts. It's
never going to end. That's what I've said. I've said it's never going to end.
Yeah, it's never ever going to end.
COVID's going to go away, but what they're doing is never going to end.
Yeah, because if you can't see by now that it's a power grab, I mean, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, but she doesn't have to work there.
I hate that argument.
That's her decision. Your kid doesn't want to get vaccinated to go to school? He doesn't have to go to school. You're absolutely right. He doesn't have to go there. He doesn't have to go there. But is it right? Because like you can homeschool your kids, you can send them to Montessori, you can send them to a school that doesn't require this stuff. But to lose one's job based on an unconstitutional mandate, number one, the other lawyer was like, it's all unconstitutional, it's perfectly healthy. Like, fuck you. Oh, you should hear like the type of intimidating. They think we're pussies.
I wish we could read the email.
They think that we're pussies. We're not pussies.
They do. Yeah, well, they do, because we've acted that way for such a long time. And the reason that we're here is because everybody's been complying for 2 years. So of course they think we're cowards, because everybody's been acting like cowards for 2 years.
Moving on. What else did you want to talk about before we
I don't know if you guys have heard, but GoFundMe has frozen the donations that have come into the Freedom Convoy. The truckers, they raised $10 million. Do
you want me to look this up so we can throw it on here?
Yeah, throw it up there.
Okay.
They started the GoFundMe, I believe, on January 14th, and they raised $10 million, and the donations were meant to help the truckers buy gas and food and just kind of survive on the road while they're doing this incredible, unprecedented demonstration and constitutional protest.
Okay, so this is from the Toronto Star. The headline is GoFundMe withholding $4.7 million from trucker convoy until plan presented. Yeah. GoFundMe has frozen access to the more than $4.7 million in funds raised by the trucker convoy, now wending its way across the country toward Ottawa in a protest against vaccine mandates. When is this from? January 25th. Do you want me to find something a little bit more current?
Yeah,
because you said it was $10 million.
Post Millennial, just EV Magazine.
Oh, this is from 9 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Western
frozen
Standard.
for
Yeah,
real this
pause
time.
just shy
10
of
million.
10.1 million. There are no updates from when this fundraiser
So
will
I wonder,
resume.
scroll down. Okay, so Ottawa City Councillor Diane Deans.
Oh, gotcha.
What a coincidence. The same day that she demanded that GoFundMe freeze their accounts and stop the truckers from getting all this money, that was the very day that they announced they were going to freeze the account. And I don't know if you can see the quote from Diane Deans, whatever her name is.
I'll put it up. I'll put it up.
Here's her quote. She made a statement demanding that they freeze the accounts, and she said, I want to ask the mayor and ask GoFundMe in the States directly and demand that they cease and desist sending money to these protesters. We've had some conversation about perhaps suing GoFundMe, but legal action takes time and this is urgent. And then listen what she calls these truckers. We need to cut off the pipeline of funding to these people, mercenaries, if you will, who are unlawfully protesting and occupying our communities, mercenaries. So now these truckers who are out there protesting the unconstitutional vaccine mandates are called mercenaries.
Jesus.
And then, oh, what a coincidence. The same day, that's when GoFundMe froze the account, and then they're now refusing to hand out any of their... What they're probably going to do is refund everybody who's donated, which is what they've done to a lot of, anyone who's remotely conservative or remotely connected to Trump in some peripheral way. If they make a GoFundMe page, they just freeze everything, return the donations, and then call it a day.
Well, what was that the cop who was fired after donating to Kyle Rittenhouse's? I think Kyle Rittenhouse maybe had to GoFundMe.
Didn't Candace make that GoFundMe?
Candace raised money for that because he was fired for having donated, I think, $25 or something. But I think even the initial GoFundMe for Kyle Rittenhouse was also that. I think that one was just taken down. It wasn't even paused, but that one was just taken down.
She raised over $200,000 for cop fired after having donated to Kyle Rittenhouse Fund. Yeah, I forgot about this.
This happens a lot. This happens a lot based on political ideology. That GoFundMe or what's the other one? What are the other any crowdfunding organization or any online crowdfunding organization? If they find out, Gavin McInnes Legal Fund, they'll freeze that automatically. They'll take it down quickly.
I love Gavin.
Yeah. What's the mercenaries?
Mercenaries. Yeah. What's the official definition of mercenaries?
Yeah.
Mercenaries
are people who are paid money to kill people.
A professional soldier hired to serve in a foreign. Yeah, that's another one. A person primarily concerned with material reward at the expense of ethics.
That's a mercenary?
That's the definition. That's another definition of a mercenary.
Wow.
It's just they are gaslighting the hell out of these people. And it's truly, this is the elite versus the working class. That's what this is. And Jack Posobiec tweeted this the other day, and he says, I can't believe that we're seeing a true workers' uprising, and the entire establishment, the leftist establishment, is after them.
It's not the right workers. That's what I said.
It's not the right workers, and
right.
It's true. This is the working class taking a stand and refusing to comply with these unconstitutional mandates. Now they're mercenaries.
Isn't it interesting? I had this thought the other day. Jeff Bezos, who obviously owns Amazon and Washington Post, big lefty, correct? Mm-hmm. But he's also a huge capitalist, correct?
I don't even know if he's a lefty, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, big time. You would have to be if you own the Washington Post and you're basically the thumb on a certain media.
I wonder if he's woke though. I guess that's what I mean.
The thing is, Jeff Bezos doesn't allow Amazon employees to unionize.
Yeah.
But he contributes politically to. I mean, Jeff Bezos, now that I think of it, would probably contribute to a lot of left and right-winged. Yeah. Either groups or politicians. So I think Jeff Bezos is just really rich and can do whatever he wants. He's not necessarily left wing. The only reason why I say he would be left is because he owns the Washington Post. But yeah, it's just weird. A lot of these big, rich, left millionaires and billionaires, they always seem to kind of counter what, not mainstream, but they always seem to counter the left wing narrative. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a bunch of truckers. They're fed up with these mandates that they find to be unconstitutional, that feel like their rights are being trampled on. So what they're going to do is they're going to literally take the means of production into their own hands, and they're going to sit on them. Yeah. Not only are they going to sit on them, they're going to drive them. They're going to drive them to Ottawa, and they're going to protest.
Yeah.
Doesn't the left wing like a good protest?
You would think,
But no. The left is going to say, no, these are white supremacists. And you would think they're white supremacists now?
There's the supportive of the working class, right? The left claims to be the champion of the working class. And now you have the working class standing up and actually executing an uprising. Yeah. And they don't want anything to do with it.
I feel like the whole trucker thing, Neil Young, and now even CSN, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, they're siding with Neil Young. They're taking their music off of Spotify. I feel like this is all a big distraction from something else. I think people are starting to wake up and see that COVID is just a big ball of nothingness and that they were duped for 2 years.
Yeah.
They're really starting to get agitated. So I think media, I think politicians, they're really trying to distract us with meaningless bullshit. Like Neil Young takes his music off of Spotify. Who gives a shit?
Okay.
Who cares?
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the update.
The entirety of mainstream media is railing against Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Zucker just announced resignation from CNN
because he was sleeping with a colleague or something.
Whatever. Let's distract them a little bit. Let's get them talking about this. Let's get them talking about Joe Rogan. Let's get them talking about these truckers. Let's get them in an uproar over Neil Young. Who knows what they're fucking doing? They're going over to these World Economic Forums. They're going to, the G8s or whatever they are. They're all getting together. And there is something called the Great Reset. Russell Brand did an amazing video about this where they are literally trying to keep this power grab on you forever. Yes. But you're too busy talking about Neil Young, Joe Rogan, and fucking Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN, and these truckers. Who gives a shit? It's a distraction. It's always been a distraction.
Yes.
Until more 100%. People wake up, I think people just have it too easy in their lives. I think the ones who have fed up, who they are, and they're actually working to fight and stand up for themselves. I think the large majority of people are just asleep. They're just asleep. They're getting on with their lives. I mean, what's his name? James Klug posted this video talking to this woman. Oh, no, Savannah did. Your friend Sav with one N, who's not welcome on the show. Listen,
can't wait to see you,
you're
Sav.
not going to get me to drink a raw egg on the show. She wants me to drink a raw egg on the show. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this.
You got to comment and let us know.
Listen, subscribe, YouTube, do all that stuff. We got to get our viewers up.
Don't you want to see Mike drink a raw egg on camera? I'll do it with you. Here, why don't we do this?
I've done it before. It's so stupid.
Why don't we do this? We'll mix the egg yolk.
There are reasons why women are more comfortable doing this.
Raw egg yolk. In creamer, and then you put it into your coffee.
Then what's the point of doing that?
Because you eat the raw egg and it doesn't taste like raw egg.
But what is the point of me eating a raw egg?
Because a raw egg is good for you.
So is an egg if I do sunny side up. What's the difference?
Nah, raw egg is better for you.
I'm not doing it. Sav with one N.
What about this? What if we had you eat a raw ribeye?
No.
You know what who I want to have on? Josh Rayner Gold. I don't know if that's his actual name, but I know that's his Do you know him?
You guys want me to get salmonella? What the hell's wrong with you?
No. All he eats is raw meat. I'm not even kidding. This guy's for real. He eats raw chicken on camera, and he's not just doing this to be controversial. He legit eats raw meat, and we should actually just have him on the show. Josh, we'll send you this clip. Come on the show because
listen, I have kids.
I don't know enough.
I'm not eating raw meat on camera.
No. He'll explain the whole thing. Just for the
views.
No, he'll explain the whole thing. But apparently there are very good reasons why raw meat's better. I've never tried it, but Josh, we'll have Josh on.
I eat a lot of meat. I have steak once or twice a week that I make by myself. I'm not eating a raw egg on camera. I'm just not doing it. No.
Oh, dang.
People eat the beef tartare all the time.
I'll do it with you.
No, it's just not going to happen.
It'll happen.
No. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to eat raw meat or am I going to have raw egg. Anyway, but Sav had a great video where she's talking to someone. How many vaccines will it take? She's like, I got vaccinated because I'm not a selfish son of a bitch. And she's like, well, how many vaccinations will it take? It doesn't matter. 3 vaccine, 4 vaccine, 5 vaccine,
10
6
vaccine.
It doesn't matter. These people are crazy. So these are the type of people who will inject themselves ad nauseum to A, virtue signal, and to B, just stay asleep.
So look, this is I don't like to
we turned this episode into a huge COVID misinformation conspiracy theory episode.
I don't like to be hyperbolic when it comes to talking about communism, but I genuinely mean it when I say this is communism light. And what I mean by that is communism, the first step to creating a communist state is to have the citizens rely fully on the government and to rely fully on the information the government gives, to rely fully on the government for things like healthcare. But we're stupidly
doing it voluntarily. At least in China and Russia, you were staring at the end of an AK-47. You're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll accept this communism.
But however, I want to say something to that. In North Korea, so my grandmother escaped communist North Korea when she was a teenager, 17 or 18 years old. And Yeonmi Park. She's a really interesting. I should message her and see if she'll come on the show. She's a North Korean defector, and she talks a lot about this too. They did not put a gun to people's heads in North Korea and force them to follow the dictator. Okay. You know, the very first thing they did in North Korea to establish a communist state, they offered free healthcare, free housing, and free food. Oh, and free education. That's what they offered.
So when does the blindfold come off, and now you're like, oh, this is no good? We got to get out of here.
I don't know if it does, because the problem is...
No, in Korea, like when do people wake up when they actually see what's happening? Like that's what I'm saying. Like when is the blindfold? That's a good question.
So Yeonmi Park actually talks a lot about this. When she was a child, her mother really like worshipped the dictator.
Yeah, because they're God. They're taught that they're God.
They're actually taught that. So they're taught that the dictator Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il, the first one I get them mixed up. They're taught that he cannot die.
Yeah.
They're taught that he is immortal and that he is a god, and that they worship him and they can get executed for saying anything negative about him. Mm-hmm. So I want to say this. I'm not just joking around and trying to be hyperbolic, but when you have people like this woman that Sav interviewed, who rely fully on anything, literally anything the government tells them, this is how the government begins.
Bring up that video.
Yeah, bring it up. This is how the government begins to gain control over its citizens, and then you end up relying fully on the government, not only for information or what to do with your body and what to do with your health, but then eventually they're going to give you free things, free education, free healthcare, free food. You're going to stand in line to get bread or to get rice.
Are you talking to me about why it's important that you're protesting this today?
Because I'm not a selfish person who thinks it's all about me. If we could get a 90% herd immunity,
you can't get 90% herd immunity. People keep on inoculating themselves. That's how new variants happen.
Immunity, we could get back to our lives.
Are you vaccinated?
I am double vaccinated and boosted.
How many booster shots are you willing to get?
As many as it takes.
So like 10, 20, 30?
As many as it takes, because I'm not a selfish bastard. I want to get back.
Wait, stop. I want to say something about what she just said. I'm not a selfish bastard. This is exactly the point. So in communist states, they teach you that there's no such thing as the individual.
Okay.
And they teach you that if you choose to do anything for yourself, if you choose to make any choices for yourself and for your family, that's selfish and it's not for the greater good, and you should be executed for it. So this language, people don't realize that this language right here is exactly the kind of mindset that North Korea, for example, that the dictator wanted their citizens to have. That's why Yeonmi Park, she talks all the time. Even in the North Korean language, there's no such thing as I or my or me.
Really?
It's we. There's no such thing. There's no word in North Korea for I or me or my.
Interesting.
It's all us. It's collective. It's comrade. There's no such word for friend. It's comrade, because just like this woman's talking about, in order to make any choices for yourself. So in North Korea, you can't even wear what you want to wear, right? You have to wear what the dictator tells you to wear, because it's a selfish thing to choose things for yourself. And people may be watching and love, oh yeah, but we're not talking about what you wear. We're talking about vaccines. What's stopping the government from transferring from the vaccines to what you learn in school, from what you eat to what you wear? This is exactly...
It's already happening.
It's already happening. This is why it's called communist light. Okay, keep playing.
Life. So if it takes 10, I am going to take 10.
What if they never let you get back to your life, though?
I'm not a selfish bastard. I want to get back to my life. If everybody would just cooperate and do what it needs to do,
just cooperate.
We would have been out of this a year ago. But now we're gonna be 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years because of a set of selfish, self-righteous jackasses.
Now, would you be interested in talking?
I think Sav's so funny. She just nods. She just kind of nods.
So Sav, you can come on the show. Just I'm not eating or
she's
drinking
coming
anything.
next month. She's gonna stay with me, meet the baby. She's great. Sav's my little sister. People actually believe me when I say she's my little sister because we're both Asian. But anyway, this is
she's Filipino.
She's half Filipino, half Mexican.
Yeah, Hernandez. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though there are a lot of Filipinos that have Mexican-like last names. Like I have a Filipino friend, his last name is Gonzalez. Anyway,
yes.
So this is why it's really important to understand when you hear about communist states like Venezuela, North Korea, Cuba, whatever, people in America think that they went to their houses and they held a gun to their head and they forced them to agree with them, and they force them to adopt their values. No, that's not how communism starts in the majority of communist states. Like I said, my grandmother escaped North Korea when she was 17 or 18 years old. And I want to say this because I'm so sick and tired of the entitlement and the privilege that our generation has. Our generation, if you live in America today, you are the luckiest person to have ever lived on the face of the planet ever in the history of humankind.
Agreed.
Okay.
That question, do you have it better than your grandparents did? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So my grandmother, she escaped when she was 17 or 18 years old, and she had to literally run zigzag through minefields to try to avoid the landmines, because apparently that was the best chance you had to avoid landmines. They had to walk for so many miles to escape North Korea that they would get blisters on their feet, and they would have to take a needle through the blisters, right? Yeah. And just leave it in there to drain it so they could actually walk. They used to get on boats. And travel at night so that nobody could hear them. And mothers had to throw their baby off of the boat into the water so that the baby wouldn't cry and they wouldn't expose their location.
Yeah.
Just to save the lives of their entire family and everybody on the boat. Mothers throwing their babies into the water to escape. This is what's at stake.
This happened. You're not making it up.
My grandmother was on these boats, and as a teenager, she saw mothers have to sacrifice their children in order to escape a communist state.
Yeah. That's not real communism, though.
Exactly. And that's what pisses me off. People are like, oh, we're going to do communism right, though. That's not real communism.
Well, guess what, sunshine? Socialism. That's the Jordan Peterson. Well, guess what, sunshine? What an elitist thing to say, because the moment you try to do something good, guess what? You get a gun to the back of your head. That's not real communism. I've never heard such an arrogant... I can't do him. There's sometimes where I can do him.
That was a better Jordan Peterson this time. But it's true.
I didn't cry as much.
This is why it makes me so angry when I hear people say, oh, but that's not real communism. That is the true manifestation of communism, and that's what's at stake right now. Well, and you may laugh and you may think, oh, she's
being super dramatic.
She's being so dramatic. The conservatives are so afraid of the vaccine. No, what we fear, and what we should all fear, is our freedoms being stripped from us and our constitutional rights being taken away from us, so that we end up like North Korea one day.
Let's talk about you now. We talked about me a little bit in the last episode. Can we talk about? Well, yeah, no, we've got some time. I know you don't have a lot of time. What time do you have to be done with this?
I think we
just give
20,
me
25 minutes at most.
Okay, so why don't you just talk a little bit about? Okay, you don't have to go through your whole life. Maybe
we can go through there's been so many interesting phases of my life.
Yeah.
College, grad school.
Can we start off, because a lot of people want to know this about you. Let's start off with you were an atheist, correct?
In my 20s, yeah. I grew up Christian. I grew up in a Christian home in Georgia, right outside Savannah, Georgia. People are always shocked when I say that. I mean, I was born in San Diego, but I moved to Georgia when I was 5.
How long did you live there?
I lived in the same house from 5 to 18.
No accent.
No accent at all. Well, because my dad is from New York, and he has a bit of a New York accent. He's Italian. And my mom's from South Korea, so English was her second language, and she obviously never adopted a Southern accent. And I mean, but I lived in a very small town. Yeah. Permanent population was, I think, 20,000.
Okay.
There's one stoplight in my town, and a lot of churches.
Yeah.
And I have a lone tear.
It's fine. I don't see it.
That's still coming down. Yeah, so I lived in the Bible Belt, and I went to, a fairly small school. I went to a public school, and it was, people always say, oh, public schools are shit. My public school is actually pretty good, but I think it's just because the area that I grew up in.
Right.
I grew up in a really small southern town. I went to church every Sunday. I played piano in church. We were heavily involved in church, and my church actually ended up being a mega church.
Oh, really?
So when I was in middle school to high school, I grew up in a mega church, so I know the ins and outs of what a mega church is.
Is that one of the reasons? What would turn you off to Christianity or just religion in general? Okay.
100%. And I'm still very, very against mega churches today.
Yeah.
I'm very against mega churches today. And and what's funny is that church that I grew up in, they are super woke now, obviously, and they're pathetically woke. Savannah Christian Church, they now changed to Compassion Christian Church. They post all this garbage trash on their Instagram about how America is a racist country and America is oppressing people of color because they're so desperate to get people in their pews. They're so desperate to cozy up to the secular ideology of woke leftism. And it's like I always say, progressive Christianity is more dangerous than atheism. I have more respect for atheists than I do progressive Christians, because you take the gospel, you twist it to fit you twist it to fit the world's ideology. This is why in the Bible it says God's going to spit out people who are lukewarm. You're either hot or you're cold.
Right.
And there's nothing more lukewarm than a progressive Christian who twists what the Bible says and uses the gospel to make themselves feel good about themselves and virtue signal.
Right. Well, it's the same way people have perverted the Bible in order to justify a bunch of different things. Like, well, the Bible said that slavery was okay, so Christianity just basically okayed slavery.
Yeah, that's
Name
really
one time where Jesus said that slavery was okay. He said, slaves, obey your masters. Don't you remember that? And it's just like, context is nothing to these people. He was basically, and the way slavery existed during the Roman Empire was completely different, because you had conquered peoples who became slaves and concubines, and you had doctors, lawyers were considered slaves back then, but at some point they were granted freedom. If you can earn enough money, you were granted freedom. So I don't know the whole, maybe you know the context more, but when he's saying slaves obey your masters, I think it was something a little bit.
It's a different context. And so I'll also promote
obey your masters.
my pastor here in Brentwood, Tennessee, Stonebridge Bible Church. He has a great podcast called In Context. And so his whole thing is that he's truly brave in the sense that he's a pastor who refuses to bow down to woke leftist ideology as a Christian pastor.
Yeah.
And he has a whole podcast that talks about the context of the Bible. And so he talks a lot about how one of the main reasons why all these churches are failing their congregants is because they do not care what the Bible actually meant. They don't care about the context.
They're hypocritical Christians. So the same way that people use the Bible to justify the Crusades or to justify anything, Hitler would use the Bible to justify what he did, and they're just hypocritical Christians. Like, nowhere in the Bible does it say to do these things. Nowhere in the Bible does it say use violence to spread the word of Christ. Like, it doesn't say that anywhere.
No, it doesn't.
So who do you base your faith in? Hypocritical Christians who have perverted the Bible in order to enforce the way that they interpret the Bible, or do you interpret it literally, and do you find people who express it that way,
or study the historical context of it?
Right,
so that's the biggest
exactly.
thing. Is studying.
Yeah, the big thing is like, well, the Bible also says you can't wear cotton and linen at the same time. And then it's like, no. The context, I think, like Leviticus, those were those were laws that the Jews had back in the day, 2,000 years ago. And I think it was tribes marrying within the tribe. So they're basically saying the laws of the land were, or the laws of the land or the laws of a particular people were, we don't want you marrying outside of the particular tribe. So that's what they get, the two fabrics. Yeah. So one piece of fabric represents this group of people. The other, fabric. This is like, you believe in the Bible? It's so stupid. What, are you wearing cotton and polyester at the same time? You can't do that if you're a Christian. Like,
well, and the dumbest thing was when Pete Buttigieg said that even the Bible supports abortion. It says that life begins with your first breath. So that's his justification for killing innocent children in the womb.
Yeah.
I'm like, people are so sick. This is why I always say progressive Christianity is way more dangerous than atheism.
We're going to talk about Gina today. Mike interjects every 2 minutes. Sorry. But
no, I think this is a really important topic to talk about. Oh, we should actually have my pastor on. His name is Dr. Michael Easley. He would come on the show.
Yeah,
he's
get
fantastic.
Him on.
He's just the nicest guy. And like I was telling you in a show, I don't know, a few episodes ago, he's really, he said once in his podcast that people, when they look at you, not as a pastor, but as a human being, he said, for example, they're going to judge me by the way that I treat my wife, how I interact with the unruly kid at church, whether I take out the trash.
Yeah.
And it really talks so much about your actions speaking so much louder than your words. But anyway, so I grew up in a mega church, and it formed me a lot into my 20s. So after college, I went to graduate school. I went to Harvard for graduate school, the divinity school, and I got a Master of Theological Studies, which is a totally useless degree.
Yeah, why'd you do that?
That's a great question.
That's what I always wanted to ask you. Why did you do that?
Stupid. I don't know. So in school, in college, I double majored in piano performance. I was kind of a child prodigy. I was really good at piano, and I think there were some people in my life that wanted me to play piano professionally, but I just never wanted to. It's just the stress.
Could you sit down at one now and play some ballads or not really?
Probably not now, because I stopped playing. We're actually getting a piano this year so I can start playing again, because I want to teach my daughter. But I was, I competed from a very young age. I won a competition when I was 12 years old. I beat out all these college and high school students to perform at the Savannah Symphony Orchestra. And, there's a lot of people in my life that wanted me to play piano professionally, but it's a very high stress, high pressure career to go into, and I didn't like being on stage in front of everybody that much. So when I went to college,
but you got the major anyway.
I got the major anyway because I wanted to continue piano. I wanted to keep the option open.
Okay.
Then my second major going into college was mathematics.
Okay.
I don't want to say imagine how much different or better my life would have been, because I truly love where I am now, and I do believe that every choice I made obviously led up to this point. But I was going to go in and study math. And who knows, maybe get into science and engineering, whatever. But my second year of school, I just got really into the diversity inclusivity crowd.
Okay.
So when I first went into college, you can choose pre-orientation camps to go to, right? And I chose one called diversity inclusivity. And back then, this was in 2007.
Yeah.
It was a new thing.
Okay.
And so I genuinely thought that diversity meant, like a diversity camp meant that you would go and learn about different cultures, maybe learn about different foods, maybe learn about the history of different cultures, because I grew up in the South where you were either white or black, and that was it.
Right.
For a while, up until high school, I was the only non-white, non-black person. And when I went to college, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to meet people who aren't just white or black. I might meet people who are mixed race like me, who are Asian, Indian, whatever. And so I was like, this might be a really great thing to do before orientation. It turned out to just be a total woke leftist camp. Let me tell you about a game that we did. This is a game called the Race Game. So they had, I think there was probably like 50 kids who went to this camp, something like that. They had everyone line up and hold hands with the person next to you.
Okay.
And the diversity and equity officer or whatever, his name was Mark, really nice guy. But he said, these are the rules. No talking, and hold the people's hands next to you for as long as humanly possible. And we were like, what does that mean? I don't get it. He was like, no talking. So we were all just silent, holding hands. And then he read these statements out. If your parents immigrated here from a different country, take one step back.
Yeah, I've heard they're doing this to school kids.
Yeah. If your parents first language is English, take one step forward.
Right. If they both have jobs, take a step forward.
Yes.
If all their grandparents are both all these things.
If you have to drive more than 30 minutes to go to a hair salon that can treat your hair, take 2 steps back.
Right.
And so I'm like taking more steps back than I'm taking forward.
Okay.
So I grew up in a middle class family. My dad was blue collar for most of my life until I was probably an early teenager. And we were middle class, but we were doing fine. I never, ever thought growing up that I had a tough life. Like, of course, there were a couple of times in school where they would make fun of me for being Chinese or
kids being kids.
Kids being kids because I looked different, and kids will always make fun of things.
Kids are the worst.
Kids are the worst.
Yeah.
And they would ask if my mom could speak English or whatever. And
based.
And so when I was taking all these steps back, and I was like, oh my God, maybe I am oppressed.
Right.
Oh my God, maybe this world is out to get me, and I've just been mistreated all my life, and my mom immigrated here from a different country. And so I'm taking step back. And then at the end, they're like, now run to the front and touch the wall. Of course, a bunch of white kids are in the front.
Sure.
Whatever. So from that point on, I just got deeper and deeper into the woke intersectional ideology.
Whoa.
And this is when I was like, F math, I don't want to do this. I want to study something. I want to study more social sciences and learn more about people. So I took a religious studies class, and we talked about how religion is one of the only things in the world that people will willingly kill for or die for. And then I just went down the liberal arts road.
Okay.
And then after school, what the hell are you going to do with a religious studies Bachelor of Arts degree? I'm
going to double down and get a master's.
I'm going to double down.
Yeah.
We're going to double down. And I applied to Harvard, Yale, and Vanderbilt or Emory. I went to Emory for college to go to their theology schools, and I got in to everywhere but Yale. And so I went to Harvard, and you talk about what we were using pronouns in 2011 before it was even a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I knew this girl, she called herself Johnny, and she demanded that everyone said they, them pronouns. And I dated a guy in graduate school who accidentally called her she in front of the class one day, and he was crying. He was so upset about it. So all this stuff that has now been surfacing over the last 5 to 7 years,
you experienced that firsthand earlier.
I experienced it over a decade ago.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was pretty much at the center of it as it was really, really rising into mainstream. Right before it broke into the mainstream, 2011 to 2013, that's when I was at Harvard, and that's when I was seeing all of the woke stuff really come to fruition and become more of a mainstream thought.
What was the point? Because I don't want to be like, well, what was the point of your real wake up? Because that's stupid, and I hate that language. But what was the point where you said to yourself, something's not right here. I don't want any part of this.
2016.
Yeah.
It took a while because after I left grad school, I said, I'm so sick of academics. One thing I got really fed up with is that I noticed even in grad school, people just sit around and talk and talk and talk, and they don't do anything in the real world. They don't do anything. Okay, great. So you're going to sit around and complain that the prison system is racist. But what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? You're doing nothing. All these academics, this is why I don't want to say I don't have respect for academics, but a lot of times I don't, because they just sit and talk about theory and complain and sit in a classroom, in a lecture class, and do these, these discussions and conversations and panels, and they don't actually go out in the world and do much of anything.
No.
So when
they stay on campus. They'll stay on campus and protest.
Yeah, they stay on campus and protest. They stay where it's safe. They stay where it's warm, and they just stay in their comfort zone. And when I left school, I graduated with my master's, and I said, well, I really don't know what to do now. Yeah. And towards the end of my grad school program, I was doing a lot of hot yoga, Bikram Yoga. And the very first...
When it was non-controversial.
Yeah, when Bikram wasn't...
When he wasn't raping people.
Bikram was awesome. I went to teacher training. I studied with him for 9 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he sit on the high?
Yeah, he sat on the high thing. Yeah.
And he had the AC on him.
He had the AC on him when we were all dying.
What's the name of the documentary?
I forgot what it's called, but
it's a really, really interesting documentary.
It's so not true, though.
Bikram. Really?
A lot of it's just not true. I'm telling you, I spent years in the Bikram community, spent a lot of time with Bikram.
This is great content because people are going to think that you're a Bikram sympathizer.
I mean, I'd love to talk about this for the rest of the episode. So Bikram is, so I'm not kidding when I tell you that women throw themselves at him.
Really?
They throw themselves at Bikram. So Bikram he's wacky, he's crazy, he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
But he truly is like a teacher / guru that changes people's lives.
Okay.
People will go to teacher training and have truly spiritual experiences where it changes their life forever. I don't think there is still any other experience I've had than what I had at yoga teacher training with Bikram for 9 weeks in LA.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I did it almost right after I graduated from Harvard, and it was unbelievable. We had about
Harvard again.
We had about 300 people. Yale. We had about 300 people in my teacher training.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is you have to quit your job. It's 9 weeks.
I want to ask you something right now before you continue. Are you brainwashed? Have you been brainwashed by Bikram? Yeah.
No, but a lot of people were.
Okay. Okay. So what separates them from you?
Well, I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit at the time.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, because when I say drink the Kool-Aid, Bikram wants you to think that there's nothing else but hot yoga. Everything else is stupid.
Okay.
Hot yoga will fix your life. He says it makes you bulletproof. It makes you love proof. It makes you broke proof. It makes you everything proof. That's what he used to say, right? And he's a total whack job, but there's something about him that you just can't look away from. You just love him. Right. I can't explain it, but when you go to teacher training with Bikram, you just end up loving Bikram. And people, there's this running joke in the Bikram yoga teacher community where sometimes you text each other. You're like, I miss Bikram. I miss him.
So the assertion and what the documentary is all about is saying that he did, I don't know if the right word is molest, but rape women. Did that stuff actually happen?
Okay,
or
I'll say this.
I'm asking you the question.
No, yeah. I'll say this. A couple of those women in that documentary, my ex-boyfriend, who was a teacher for years before I was, who was in the inner circles of the Bikram yoga community long before I was, he knows some of them personally.
Yeah.
And I know some other teachers who know some of those girls personally. I'll just say this. I'm not going to, obviously I can't say what exactly happened, but I will say that there were multiple people that I know who saw those girls willingly engage in flirtation and ask to be around Bikram a whole lot. Okay. They willingly they wanted to go into his hotel room. They wanted to be around him. I'm not kidding, Mike, when I tell you that women would beg to massage his feet and brush his hair.
Really?
They would beg to do it.
And I'm not saying that justifies whatever happened
No,
between
I'm
them.
not
I don't
saying
know,
it does.
but you're saying
But
that
I'm saying that there's a
it's
level
not crazy that these women were throwing themselves at him.
I'm telling you that there is a level of responsibility. I'm not saying it's 100% the responsibility
You're
of these
not
women.
victim blaming. I don't think that you're victim
I'm
blaming
not
at all. But
victim blaming.
it's very interesting that they're throwing themselves at this guy.
But we
who
need to talk about responsibility
subjectively,
here.
I don't
Like
see
this is not the Bikram is not a guy who would forcibly grab a woman.
But he's not
pin her-
Mick Jagger either. This is why this is confusing. Is it more of an enlightened the way he makes
gurus,
people feel?
Gurus get tons of girls.
Really?
They get tons of girls. Girls go gaga
How
for
old was he
gurus.
at the time when you were
in his 60s? I think.
And still, like people were.
Dude, 18-year-olds. We had
What?
we had some teenagers. Like the girls loved him. I mean, I was kind of in the group, would always sit in the back. But when you go to lectures with Bikram, he will keep you there until 2 or 3 in the morning. He can keep you all night if he wants.
Listen,
he'll make you watch Bollywood movies until 5 in the morning.
I have always been of the mindset that I am the perfect mark for a cult. Because
No,
if
you're not.
if you are nice to me, I'm in it. I remember there was this guy I was talking to where he was in town he was in town because I forget what type of area it was in, but I think it was in philanthropic work concerning technology. And his group that he was there with was a faith-based group. And he was talking to me about, I was like, oh, are you guys a Christian group? And he's like, yeah. And he's just talking to me about all these things, Jesus this and Jesus that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then when he left, I was feeling good. And I was like, God,
I was feeling
anybody can get like Jamestown, I'd be totally in there.
No, you
Waco,
wouldn't.
I just think I have the personality where I get along if people are being really nice to me and if we're having a really well-intentioned conversation, even if we disagree or not. But if I agree, and if there's something mystical, if there's something spiritual about it. I had this woman that came in to where I worked one day, where I was helping her out, and at the end of the transaction, I rang her up. She says, "Are you having a good day?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm doing fine." And she's like, "Just to let you know, like Jesus has his arm around you today."
Aw.
And I was like, "What?" She's like, "I know you're lying." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, I could tell. And I was having a bad day that day.
Wow.
Like just a bunch of things just kind of went on top of each other. And I was like, how does this woman know? Jesus says he's looking out for me. Oh my God. And then she gives me a pamphlet. And then in my head, I'm like, I'm there. I got you got me. I'm like, that's why I'm the perfect mark for a cult, I think. Like, if there's any cult where it's like, hey, we're all great people, you'll be surrounded with love.
Give your money.
Scientology is different just because it involves aliens. So I don't necessarily believe in that. But the crazy Jesus-y cults, they got me. If they're out there, they got me.
Well, I'll tell you why it's so easy to fall into the Bikram cult, because when you do the yoga, it makes you feel like nothing you have ever felt before. There are a huge number of ex-drug addicts who come into the yoga and who have these incredible transformative experiences because the heat and just exercise in general, but the heat just heightens it.
Yeah.
And it's the same 26 postures every single class. So you go
How
in.
does it smell in there?
It depends on the studio. A lot of them smell like shit. They smell like feet, smell like armpit. But my first studio that I worked at and practiced at was Bikram Yoga Boston in Boston. They had 3 studios and they kept theirs really clean. I loved it. I used to go every single day, sometimes twice a day. And when I taught full time after I left training. I would teach sometimes twice a day and practice. So I was in the hot room for 5.5 hours a day.
Were you an atheist at this point still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
What turned it?
What turned my well, I almost died in a fire and I got deported from Australia.
Oh God.
Yeah.
In Australia, died in a fire, or outside of Australia?
Yeah. Well, I didn't almost. Yeah. I died in Australia.
No. Sorry.
No,
Did the fire happen in Australia?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Right before I got deported.
Wait, was it divine intervention? You think?
Yeah.
That you're alive?
I think God was really pulling me out of Australia because I was so stubborn. I knew I should have gone back to the States a long time
Not even
ago.
out of Australia. I'm talking about the fire.
Oh, the fire for sure. Yeah.
Really?
Even the firefighters said that I was really, really lucky to be alive.
What happened?
Yeah. There was a barbecue, a gas barbecue was on. And then one of the tanks wasn't hooked up correctly, and it just started shooting gas out and then caught an open flame, and it burst on me.
Really?
Burned off my eyelashes, my eyebrows. I still have hair missing in my hairline. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you got the biggest forehead ever. I'm like, yeah, I do have a huge forehead because my hair got singed off. Yeah, I was a total burn victim. I was hideous. My face was black for a while. first and second degree burns. I had huge blisters on my fingers. Luckily, we didn't have to get them drained or anything. But yeah, I mean, I passed out for a second, and the house was like on fire. Firefighters had to come in, had to rush me to the hospital. Yeah, and I was in bandages and on some really intense medication for a few days.
So divine intervention, you think there?
Yeah, God saved me from that. And it was, and sometimes, so I forgot what scripture it is in the Bible, but it says that God will put you through, this is paraphrasing, God will put you through suffering to lead you on a more righteous path.
And some divinity student, you can't even name which verse it is or chapter.
Yeah, but come on, I went to a secular divinity school, so.
True.
But yeah, that passage is that's my life. That was my life.
I think the meaning of life, and I thought about this the other day. I think the meaning of life is struggle, not suffering necessarily, but I think struggle. I think without struggle, there's no point to life because you don't learn anything.
Oh well, Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, and that suffering is the very thing that.
Let me tell you a little bit about struggling, pal. If you don't struggle, you don't live.
That's it. That's your best one so far. That's
yeah,
it.
Is it? Okay.
That's your best one so far. Yeah, I mean, suffering is the only thing we're all guaranteed in life. And I truly think that suffering is the very thing that produces the most incredible people, which is why some of the people that I look up to the most have gone through immense suffering. Like, look at Candace. She went through a really rough childhood.
Yeah.
And she's gone through a lot of suffering in her life that people don't know.
David Goggins,
who lives out
here
in
Nashville and who turns a lot of things down apparently, but will hopefully come on this podcast one day and yell at me.
Come on, David, stay hard. My friend Mark, who's coming on the show, he's gone through an insane amount of suffering in his life, and it made him the person he is today. That's why I think people who have gone through a lot of suffering, they're so magnetic, and people want to be around them because they have experienced a level of life that a lot of others haven't. Yeah.
And I think there are degrees to it. You don't necessarily have to go through hell in order to have this perspective on life. I think even, minor struggle, but awareness of that. Oh God, it's so great to show. I can't tell you, like, I failed so many times at so many different things.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say this and I'm puffing myself up, but I'm the type of person where I don't like failing, but I don't look to fail, but when I do, it drives me that much more.
Yeah.
I'll start a company after a company after a company. I'll have an idea after an idea after idea, not even necessarily till I get it right, but just to keep on moving forward.
Yeah. I've failed so many times in my life.
God. It's so good. Failing is so good.
It's so good. It's, I would say the last huge couple failures I had were in San Francisco before I got hired by Candace. And that was just failure after failure. I mean, I failed so much from the years of like 2013 to 2016. That was like 3 years of failures. I was traveling around the world and just living the nomad life and thinking that I was better than all the capitalist idiots in America, even though I was using an iPhone on Amazon all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that moment in Australia when I almost died in the fire and then I got deported a couple weeks later, obviously you can't bring anything with you when you're deported. Like almost everything I owned at the time was still there. So anyway, that's all we have time for today for my story. I mean, we can talk more about it later.
She's got to go.
We can also talk more about Bikram later because that's a really interesting one.
Oh God, let's carry this over to the next episode. Sorry about the time restraints on this one, but
we'll be back.
We'll be back for sure.
We'll be back, and we got some great guests coming on soon. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the episode if you like it. We love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.